Hello everyone, and welcome to this Backend development course. My name is Michael Obariwon, and I will be your instructor throughout this journey. I'm a backend developer and a full stack developer with background in Python, JavaScript, Java development, and web frameworks. I'm also passionate about teaching and I have experience building scalable and efficient systems. So, in this course, we are going to explore how the backend powers modern applications from handling user authentication, managing database, and building secure and performant APIs. So, in this course, you are going to learn the core concept, the tools, and best practices that real developers use every day to bring ideas to life. So, whether you are a complete beginner or you are just looking forward to deepen your experience, this course is going to really help you to build a solid foundation and the confidence to create your own backend projects. So, let's get started with it. Okay, so in this week, we are going to be learning about the backend concept, the JavaScript fundamentals, and Git setup. Um, at the end of this course, this week, you will understand the internet architectures, that is how data flow across devices and servers. Then also client server communication. We are going to learn how the client and the server communicate over the internet, the request response cycle that powers the web. Then also we are also going to be learning the difference between front end and back end, because to effectively understand what the back end is, we have to understand how the back end and the front end relate together to create web applications. Also, we are also going to learn about JavaScript fundamental. So, when we learn about backend, we can use different programming language. But for this particular course, we are going to be using JavaScript, and it's very very important we go over the fundamental topic is in JavaScript. So it's just how to write and run a basic JavaScript code. Then after that, we are going to learn how to set up the development workflow, how to install Node.js to run JavaScript. Then from there, we go into version control, how to set up Git and track your code so that you can collaborate using GitHub. So we also learn about GitHub integration. Then from there, we are going to round it up with practical application by building and deploying your first Node.js program with Git. Why this matters? Backend is the backend development is the engine that powers engine behind every app. So it powers things like logins, data, payment, and storage. So this lecture builds the foundation for your journey into the critical domain, which is backend development. So let's go into it. So we are going to learn about the internet and the client server architecture. So what is the internet and how does the internet works? We all know about internet, but how does it actually work? So internet is millions of computer talking to each other. That is a layman definition of the internet. The internet is a millions of computer that are talking to each other, and it's not a magic. It is a communication through uh, shared rules that are called protocols. And in this backend development course, we are going to be talking about the HTTP protocol, HTTP or HTTPS protocol. So you can see this is the diagram of the internet. This is your mobile phone, your laptop, and your desktop communicating over the internet with another computer that we call a server. So the communication is through some rules that we call protocols, and we have different type of protocols, but the one we are going to be looking at extensively is the HTTP and HTTPS protocol. Okay, so the client server architecture. So what is the client and what is the server? So from client, the client is your device, which can either be your mobile phone, your laptop, or your desktop computer. It is anything that can request data. So on your computer, you have what we call browser, and on your mobile phone, you also have a social media app. You have your banking app. You also have your smart devices like TV, IoTs, and game consoles. So these client devices, they send requests. So they always send requests, and when they send this request, they send it to another computer. And what are these requests? When you log into your bank app, you want to see your balance. So your bank app is going to send a request to the bank server to request your balance, that and you are going to see it on your device. And also when you go to your browser, www.facebook.com, you log in, your browser is going to send your request. This also browser is searching for these particular resources, and your browser is going to communicate with the Facebook server. So your client device is always sending a request, and we have another computer that we call the server. The server is a processing computer. The server is always online and always waiting for a request. You can picture a server as a computer that is always running, and it can listen to different requests from thousands, millions of users across the world. It's always on, and is a very big processing computer. It handles logic, authentications, and security. So on the server, it handles different logics, authentication. When you log in and you put your password, it's going to check your password. If your password is not correct, it's going to send you appropriate message, email, or password incorrect. It also handles security and so on, and it can serve millions users at once. It decides what data to be sent back to the client. Just like we have mentioned, the client is a device that always send a request. So you send request to the server. So the server will determine the kind of response or data that is going to be sent back to the client. Then we also have what we call the database. The database is an information vault, and it store all data that we don't want to destroy. We want to keep it safe. For example, now your details, your information, your account information is living in the bank database. So the database is closely related to the server, and is communication from the client to the server. Then the server is also a computer that is built side by side with the database to retrieve information. So the database and the server, they work hand in hand to handle the client request. Okay, so and when the client and the server, when they communicate, the communication is very swift that you will not even notice. It is usually under 1 second, and everything is going to be sent back as response if there is no network issue, of course. Okay, so you can see this is the diagram. The request, your computer, the client is sending a request, and the server is going to send back a response. So the key insight here is that every web interaction is always the client requesting for data or information, the server is processing it, and if there is something to be gotten from the database, it get it, and there they return response back to the client. So as a backend engineer or a developer, you are going to own the processing part. So the processing part, which is the server processing, all the logic that is going to happen on the server, maybe payment request, login, checking of users password, and performing some calculations. Somebody want to withdraw money, and as a backend engineer or a developer, you write some logic to check, because the client is going to send a request, I want to withdraw so amount from my money. As a backend developer, you are going to write logic that check, oh, it is check the balance of the users on the database and see if the user can still withdraw that amount of money. If they can withdraw it, you withdraw it from them and send, you withdraw it from their balance and keep the remaining data or the data in the database and send response back to the client, which can either be their mobile phone, a computer, and so on. Okay, so we can see the three tiers of model. So what we are trying to see here is that modern apps separate concern into three tiers for scalability, security, and easier maintenance. So the tier 1 is what we call the front end, the tier 2 is the back end, which is the server, and the tier 3 is the database. So just like we have said, the front end is, yeah, it presents information visually. It handles users input. You can click, put input into your form, and you can see some nice gestures. It can validate your input before sending it to a server. And the technology that are being used at the front end, they are HTML for structuring content, CSS for styling, and also JavaScript for interactivities. And also at the front end also, there's also something we call the frameworks. Frameworks are just the extension of the language that you can use to build some the front end rapidly. So we have React and Vue, Angular, and so on. So at the front end, the user is going to see forms, buttons, menu, images, videos, and different animations. So the server, the server is the backend. So the responsibility of the server, which is the tier 2, is it apply business rules. For example, now if you want to register, it can check if your age is greater or less than equal to, or greater or less than 18. So it's going to apply different logic rules. It also manage authentication and permission. It determines who do this particular who can perform a particular operation. For example, now you cannot go to the Twitter and or X to delete my post. The same way I cannot go there and delete your own post. So that is the permissions. Authentication is logging in, signing up, and all those things. So it also process and transform data. It expose APIs for client requests. So we are still going to learn about all these things. It's also secure systems and manage sessions. So these are the technologies that are being used at the back end, which we are going to look over in this course. Is Node.js, the server runtime. We are also going to look at Express, which API framework. We are going to look at middlewares. We call them request processor, auth libraries, which are for logins and security. So what happens at the backend, just like we have been saying, password hashing and verification, payment handling, emails and file upload, any other things they happens at the backend. So we also have the tier 3, which is the database. So database and the backend they work hand in hand. uh, the responsibility of the database is to persist data across sessions. Persisting of data, that is, we don't want the data to get lost, so we have to save it somewhere. Then it's also queries and retrieve data, keep data consistent and reliable, manage a relationship between data and the database. We have different type of database. We have a relational database, example Postgre, MySQL, so on. We also have a document, the NoSQL, and the example of this is the MongoDB. We also have key value, that is Redis, Graph, Neo4j. These are for complex relationship. So in this course also, we are also going to look at the database. Just like I've said, the backend and the database, they work together hand in hand. Okay. Also, let's move to the next slide. So again, let's look at the relationship between the front end and the back end. So the front end is what we always call the client side. Anytime we refer to as client, we always talk about the uh, front end. Just like I've been saying since, the front end is always the visual, the interactive user experience, and the responsibility is UI design and layout, user interactions, then responsive design and all those things. Just like I've mentioned before, these are the tools that we use at the front end. uh, Apparently JavaScript is also used at the front end also. So for example, this is a snippet that how uh, the client can make a request to the backend. So if you don't understand this code now, shouldn't worry. Okay, so this is just a login button that is going to accept email and password from the user, and is going to whatever the email and password is going to be sent to this particular endpoint, which is API slash login. So, and if the email and password is correct, the implementation, the checking is going to be done on the back end, and there's going to be a response. So you can see if response is okay, then you want to navigate the user to the dashboard. So Like I said, this is a front end code, and it's just okay to know how it is being done. So you can see the client, we have to send the email and the password to the server, and the server, we are going to be processing, checking if the email and the password corresponds to what we have in our database. So the checking is going to be done at the uh, backend. So let's look at how this is actually done. So for example, um, you can see this is the backend development. Here we undo logic, security, and data management. So we develop API, database operation, authentication and authorization, business logic implementation, performance optimization, because you want to make sure your backend is also performant, and it's just okay to make it, to emphasize on it, that the backend is very very important. Many are times when you try to request data from, when you want to view a page, maybe in your web app, you notice that the request is taking time to load. It's not actually from the front end. Most of the time it is from the back end. So also at the back end, we also want to make sure we write something that is efficient and well optimized. So the tools that we use in backend, they are Node.js, Express.js, MongoDB, and JWT. These are just few ones that we use and are very peculiar to JavaScript. We are going to learn them as we progress in the course. So for this particular request that was made earlier from the front end, this is how it's going to be processed. You can see this is the endpoint. Then we have already defined the endpoint at the backend at, oh, if you can see post, so it's going to hit this post endpoint. You don't worry about all these things, we are going to learn about them. So you can see we are going to grab the email and password from the request, which is we get from the body, and you can see we first of all find the user. So if the user does not exist, or we try to compare the password the user provided and this particular user, its password in the database, we compare them. So if the user does not exist, or the comparison of the comparing of the password is not successful, then you want to what, return an error. So you can see the response, we return response and the invalid credential. But if it is okay, you want to what, you want to construct a token, and we'll send this token and some other informations also. So this is just a basic authentication flow, and as we progress, we are going to learn how to write simple ones and more complicated ones like this. So that is just how these things are being done in all those apps that we use in our day-to-day activities. Okay, so how they work together. So when let's consider a scenario when a user wants to register. So we have the front end, just like we have said, they collect names, email, password, they validate it, the format to make sure that you are providing email. Because for example, where we ask you to provide email, we wouldn't want you to just provide something that does not have the at uh, symbol. So it is going to be validated and sent to the backend. So at the backend, we are going to validate it again to check. So then another check, you check if the email exists. So if the email already exists, oh, we send the response back, oh, we are making a bad request. The email, the account you are going to create is already existing in a database. Then if everything goes well, then we try to hash the password. It's very important to know that at the back end we always hash a password. And what does it mean to hash password? We are going to learn about it as we progress in this journey. Then from there we save the data to database. Then after that we send the confirmation message, and if everything goes well, we return success to the uh, client, which is the front end. So then the front end receive the response again. Then after it is successful, a token will be uh, given, sent from the back end to the front end, and from there you can do redirection to the dashboard, to your home page, and that. So you can see, so look at the flow here. So you can see this is the web app and the mobile app. You make request to the server. So the server is going to communicate with the database, and there's something we call the APIs. APIs, they are just uh, logic and business, every applications, the one that is checking for password, communication with uh, database, or even external uh, system. So it's possible for a server to also communicate with another server. Okay, for example, now if you want to log in your Facebook or in your X, you can ask it to continue with Google. So that means that your Twitter or X is going to communicate with the server of your X is going to communicate with Google API, which is another backend. So this is just the flow. So there are many languages that are being used at the server: Java, Python, PHP, and the one we are going to use in this course, which is the JavaScript. But the front end, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and that. So, just like I mentioned earlier, there is no way we are going to uh, study backend without actually going through some foundational fundamentals about the programming language we want to employ. So just like I've mentioned, we are going to be making use of a JavaScript, and it is just okay if we can just do some revisions about some basic things about JavaScript. So why JavaScript for the backend? Uh, JavaScript from Node.js in 2009, they made JavaScript runs on a server. So the idea is that JavaScript was actually meant to run on the browser. That is why you see that JavaScript is a language for the front end. So, but then later we have what we call Node.js, which we are going to learn later in this course. So originally JavaScript does not run on a computer. What I mean by on a computer is like JavaScript does not have the machine, the interpreter to run on a computer, just like some other language like C or Python. So JavaScript was made to run on a virtual uh, machine that was built on computer, which is the browser. So you can see the browser as a virtual machine, like another small computer that was built on top of computer so that JavaScript could run. But over the years, around 2009, Node.js came in, and Node.js allowed JavaScript to run on server. So Node.js is not another language, it's just a runtime, it's just a machine that allow our computer to run JavaScript code. Okay, so along the line you are going to understand what the point we are trying to make here. So why is it good? uh, Benefit is that if you learn JavaScript, you can actually work as a front end and a back end developer, because you don't have to learn different language. If you have the knowledge of JavaScript, you can easily uh, work as a front end or back end developer. Then it also allows us to reuse code between client and server. Then JavaScript has what a huge ecosystem. So most of the tools you are going to be using, they were already been invented. You don't have to reinvent the wheel again. So the JavaScript has huge community support. As we are going to see in our journey, that there are some things that there are some reusable code that the ecosystem is going to give us. We don't have to write everything we do from scratch. So JavaScript is also very good for handling many requests, and we don't know about all these things. We definitely going to look at how all these things works. So JavaScript is very powerful language. If you learn it once, you, you use it everywhere. Okay. So just like I said, we are going to be learning about JavaScript, at least some basic uh, syntax in JavaScript. So for example, how to declare a variable. Variable is like a store, a save where you want to keep something so that you can use it later. So it's like a vault, a store, or a memory that you are storing something. For example, you can see now I'm storing my username Michael. I also store my birth year 1998. Okay, so this is what we call variables. And then when you want to store a variable in JavaScript, you can use const or let. So for example, look at cost. Let cost is equal to 0. Okay, now these are two ways we can define variables in JavaScript, but the problem here is that whenever you declare const, you cannot change it. So let's go into our VS Code to see how this thing works. Okay, so okay, so const name is equal to Michael. Okay, so now if I want to come back, I can do this console.log. We are still going to learn about all these. Okay, so let's try to run this particular code. Okay, so node, let us run. Okay, let me save the file. Okay, first of all, let me check the file. Don't worry about this, you are still going to learn about this thing. So you can see I have my name here, which is Michael. So it allows me to do some things like I can say hello. I can just type hello and hello, then name. So we should expect hello, then my name. So let me rerun so you can see hello Michael. So that's just what variable is. So now the difference between const and let is that if I come here and I change name, because it's possible maybe this is a let's say this is a number. It is possible for number to change. So let's say currently I'm 30. but later my age is now 33. So this is going to show error. Okay, so let's try to run this code now and see what we have. Let's try to run it again. Can you see? This is error. Assignment to constant. So when you use const, you cannot reassign it. So but when you use let age, so when you use let age, you can see age is 30 before, but now let's try to run this code. You can see it runs well. Okay, so that's just the difference between const and let. So const does not allow reassignment, it's constant. So you should learn how to work with const unless there's a need for let. Okay, so that's that. Then also what we call data type. Just like I said, this is what we call a string. String is anything that has a text, maybe your name, sentence, and all those things. They must be in quotation. So you can either use a single or double quotation. Then we have number, which is it can be decimal number, it can be point, float. So we also have booleans. Booleans is they are true or false. So then we have what we call arrays. Arrays is a list of items. It can be a list of names and number. It does not really matter. So how can we declare a list? Because obviously as a backend developer, you are going to be working with lists. So let's say the list of names. We are going to a square bracket like this. Remember, name is a word, so is going to be in a quotation. Ali, then Ella. Okay, so this is console.log. So this console.log, you are going to, so it is good to use, let's just make sure we put s here, although it does not really matter, but okay, so you can see. So this is a list. Okay, so you are going to be working with list as a backend developer. You want to return the friend list of a user. You want to return a list of goods in the e-commerce website. So these are your datas. They are going to be stored in list. Okay, so another data type is object. So this is an object. This is a comment. Put the comment. So this is so object allow us to store what we call key values, because for example now you can have const user, the user. For example, look at what we have here. This user has name, age, so it allows us to store a lot of things about the user. So you can say name is equal to Alice, and sorry, this is not supposed to be equal to, sorry, when you are inside you use this, so comma as your user. So we have age, you say 30. You can also add some other things, maybe okay, is active. I want to know if it is active. Let's say this is account of a user, is active, is going to be false. Okay, maybe the user has registered but they've not verified the account, so the account is not yet active. So you can store the user object like this. So we can do a lot of things here. Maybe you want to get the user the age, you can say console.log you can see user.age, and from here I can run the code again, and we have 30. And this is objects. So you are going to be working with objects as a backend developer, so it's very good to be familiar with this data type. Really, these are data type that we have in JavaScript. So we also have functions. So functions, they are reusable code. This is how you can have three different ways of declaring functions, which you can easily brush over it. So let's write some functions. There are different ways of writing functions. So you can use what we call the traditional function by writing functions. Then this is the function name, this is the argument. Here you can use the argument, this is the parameter rather. So when you are declaring the function, you have the parameter, and when you are calling it here, you pass the argument. So we can just write a simple function to greet. So let's say function greet is going to accept name as an argument. Then you want to just try to do this. Let's just return a function will return name. So let's pass name here. So let's return hello. Hello is a word, so it's going to be a string. So hello plus hello comma name. Okay, so let me do this. I don't want to hello plus name. This is just for this thing's sake. Okay, so then let's try to console.log console.log greet. Then we have to pass a name into greet, maybe Ade. So you should see hello Ade without. So let me do some magic here. So hello plus place a space plus Ade, so that there will be space there. So let's see what we have here. So you can see hello space Ade. So that's just it. So functions, they are reusable codes. You can call a function here, and that's just it. So we are going to be learning about all these things. So there are other ways you can declare functions. We have arrow functions, you can see, and we also have this is a function to add. It's taking two arguments, a parameter which is a and b, and it's going to add a and b together. So you can see we pass 5 and 3, and it's going to return a. So functions are a reusable piece of code, and in JavaScript you are going to be working with functions. In fact, there are some inbuilt functions that you are going to be using, and you are also going to write your own functions too. So how is function used at the back end? For example, look at this. So this is a function, is valid email. This is a function that is taking that email. So it's going to check if the function is if the email is valid. So how is it going to do this? You can see if email include at and email include dot. So this particular function is checking if the email you provided has this at, or and it also include dot. So then it's going to return true. So all these things are what you are going to be seeing at the back end, and trust me, there's no much in this thing. By the time we start using them, you will understand them better. So this is a function to calculate total. So let's go ahead. These are just introductory topic. So array with lists, and you can see example. These are some things we can do on the array, and can filter it, you can find, and you can reduce it, and you can see this number. We map, we multiply everything by 2. You can go over it and try to test it and see how it works. Okay, so backend example of user data. You can see, because this is a list, is a list of objects. You can see these are objects, object 1, object 2, object 3, and these are users. We can filter it. You can see user dot filter, and here we are trying to return every user that whose age is greater and equal to 18. So we also have try to find admin users, and can see we try to filter the names so that we filter this users list to find user dot role. You can see there's role here. If role is equal to admin, then we also try to map and get the name of the user that is equal to admin in another list. So these are just basic examples and what you are going to be seeing, and when we get there you are going to really see how they are being used. So this is what we call a complex data. So this is a data this is object that has another object. You can look at the structure. This is an object, name, age, email, address, and so address is another object inside this object. You can see address is another object that has city and country and so on. Now we can also have a list inside an object. So these are just basic data structures we are going to be looking at in backend, because we are going to be working with them, try to access user data, perform some operation on them. Okay, so this code that I'm actually running now, you cannot run it on your computer if you don't have Node.js installed. You can see from here I have to say node run this file for me, index.js. You can see, so that's what node is doing. So without node, if you do node index.js in your computer, it will not fly, it will not work. So you have to get node installed. In fact, as a backend developer, your code, you can see right now we are not running our code on the browser. We are running our JavaScript in our computer, so we are not running on our browser. We can also run it on a browser, but then we are running it on our computer right now using node. So node is just like a program. It's like a machine that is interpreting our JavaScript code so that our computer can process information data with it. So how do we install Node.js? So just like I've mentioned earlier, Node.js allows JavaScript to run outside the browser. So with Node.js you can build web APIs, you can build servers, because servers is not like an interface that use browsers. Server is a big computer. In fact, most servers don't not even have all these pictures that you can click your file. They are always complicated stuffs and that. So Node.js, we can build web APIs, we can build servers, we can build desktop app, we can build command line tools, and what is actually our focus in this course is how to build web APIs and servers using Node.js. Okay, so Node.js versus browser JavaScript. So the environment, Browser JavaScripts run on web browser and used to mainly handle interactions, DOM manipulation, client side logic, just like we have mentioned. So Node.js run outside the browser on a server. It enables JavaScript to be used for backend development. So because uh, it allows us to run JavaScript on a machine, on a computer, and not a browser. Okay, so browser provide built-in API like documents and fetch, Windows, local storage, which are very peculiar to front-end development. But Node.js allows us and it provide modules like file system FLs, provide HTTP, provide path, provide file system access and server handling and networking. So what we are just trying to say here is that your browser, we we said that Node JavaScript was actually meant for the browser, but then well, on the browser you don't have access to some things on the browser. The browser does not have access to something like camera, your file systems, and some other things. But Node.js is running on your computer. It has access to your file system, to your system part, and to networking. So, use cases: browser JS for building interactive web page and front-end application, Node.js for server-side API, real-time services, and CLI tools. So, common ground: they both share the same JavaScript language, that is the core ECMAScript, but expose different runtime features. So they have different features, and but they use the same language. And what we mean by language, the typing of functions and everything. So the browser has an engine that runs JavaScript, but it's not that powerful when it compared to the Node.js engine. So Node.js is just like an engine that is running our JavaScript code that allows us to have access to different things, to make our computer to do different calculations, do a lot of things. Okay. So for example, some of these things you can do on the browser. You can do document.getElement by ID, by you can do all these things, but you cannot do it on uh, Node.js. For example, on Node.js now you can access the file system, HTTP modules, operating system, operating system modules. But in both browser and Node.js, you can work, you can console.log, just like I've said. You can declare variable, you can write functions, array objects, and promises, which is another constructing a JavaScript ecosystem. Okay, so how can you install Node.js? So you visit nodejs.org. So let's copy this, and I already have it installed. Okay, I already have it installed on my system here, but you can go to the website and get it download. So you download the LTS version. There's LTS version, so you make sure you download the LTS version. So I will still show you how we can do it. So after your installation, uh, there's something you have to do. Currently I'm running a Ubuntu operating system Linux. So but when you get when you are able to install Node.js successfully, you can uh, you can come to your terminal. If you are using Mac, open to your terminal. So you can say node -v. So you have it. If node is installed on your computer, you are actually going to have something like this. So you can see. Okay, so you can also go to your, if you have your uh, VS Code, you can try to say node dash v, because the VS Code also has a terminal. So if you want to get to the terminal from the VS Code, once you open your VS Code like this, you come to view, to terminal, then you can run the node dash v. If node is successfully installed, it's going to show you the version you are currently running. So that is that. So next we want to learn about GitHub. So later we are going to see how we can start working with Node.js. So make sure you get the Node.js in the nodejs.org, and make sure you download the LTS version, the long-term support. It is stable and recommended. Just install all the default setting, and it's important to know that Node.js is just a machine. It doesn't have user interface that you can interact with. So for example, now don't expect to see something like an app on your computer. So it's going to be installed at like an interpreter or so ever. So let us continue. Git and GitHub. So as a backend developer, the knowledge of Git and GitHub is very, very important, and Git allow us uh, to version our code, and GitHub allow collaborations with other developer, because obviously as a backend or a software developer, most of your work involves with working collaboration with other developers. So Git and GitHub, they come in this regard. And what is Git? A Git is a version control system that track changes to your code. So why use Git? Git track complete uh, project history, collaborate with other developers, experiment without breaking working code, and back up your code safely. See what changes when and who. So you can just see Git as uh, a like a something that is tracking your history. It is tracking your history. Maybe you write hello now, you save it like this. Now we have saved it. Now you can tag it, okay, help us to be tracking our file. So if any changes occur, maybe I come tomorrow and I now say console dot log hi. So this is going to be, I can save it again and tag it, okay, I've made another changes. It's going to keep track. This is, you can see uncommitted changes 1 seconds ago. It's going to, you can see from here, I started this project 2 days ago. It's tracking my name. I made the changes to it 1 seconds ago, and that's just it. So that is the work of Git. Is going to be tracking your file. So um, what is then Git versus GitHub? So this is the area where people get confused when we come to Git and GitHub. So Git is a software on your computer. It works offline. It still track your changes locally. You can see when you make some changes, and you are going to be working with Git very well as a software developer. But GitHub is a website for hosting Git, a repository. A Git repository is like folder. For example, if you look at my project now, you can see I have my project. This is my folder. Okay, so your folder is a repository. So you can, when you are done with it locally, you can put it on GitHub, and you can tell your colleagues, they can go there and they can download it on their computer so that they can also work with it. So Git is a online platform where you can put your repository, and allow collaboration. So you can see Git as a Microsoft Word that you have on your computer. Okay, you have it on your computer locally. You can do the editing, and it's going to track your changes. But GitHub is like a Google Doc. You have it on the internet, and a lot of people can be collaborating at the same time. So to install Git, you have to install Git on your computer. So you can go to this website to download it based on your operating system. Then when you are done downloading it, you can try to check if you already have it. So if you have your terminal, you can say git dash dash version. So you can see I'm currently running 2.43 version of Git. So on your, you can search for it. You can also try here. So you can see. So if you have VS Code, if you have or Sublime Text or whatever code editor you are using, you can also try to verify if it has been successfully installed. So after installation, you have to configure your Git. So I've configured my own Git, but if you want to configure your own, you just have to open your VS Code or your terminal. Just press this command, git config dash dash global. Just type it like this. Then here is going to be your name, your full name. Then also when you are done with that, git config dash dash global user.email. This is going to be your email. So make sure you use the same email you use on your GitHub. It's very, very important, because you are going to create GitHub later, and yes, you are going to be connected. Okay, so when you are done, to check if what you have done is correct, you can try to verify git config dash dash list. You can run this one on your terminal or on your integrated terminal here. So let me run it here. What is the command? Git what is that? Because obviously you can't be cramming all this command. Config dash dash list. Okay, you are no most likely not to be using this thing. Config dash dash list. You can see. So let's look at my configuration right now, and that's all right. So that is about downloading and configuration of a Git. So from there, if you have successfully done this, then it is now time to set up your first project, so that you can start coding away. So to set up your first project, you have to create a folder on your desktop, then open your folder. So in this case now I will do something. Because I'm using a different operating system, so let me create a new. So when you have a new VS Code like this, let me try to quit all these previous ones, so that we can start from scratch together. Okay, so we have this. So you can also create your what are they calling it, your folder in your what, in your so in your desktop. So for example, now you can create new folder. You can call this project or my project. Okay, so if you are on a Windows computer, you can just drag it and drop it here. It's going to work, but in this case I'm using Linux, so it's not going to, but there is also a way you can open it. So let's look at it. So you create uh yeah what you create your project. You can put it in. So for example, you can call it my project. Open your VS Code. So if you go to your VS Code, you come to file, then you come to open folder. So when you come to open folder, you can go to your desktop in this case. So here is my own desktop. I have my project, then I can just open it. So you have successfully opened your project. So now what are we going to do when you have successfully done that? So you you can also open the integrated terminal, just like I've said. So you can use command control plus backtick. Backtick is at the front of number one over on top of tab below the escape key. So you can use that, or you can use the view then terminal. So let's go view then to terminal. So you can see you have opened the integrated terminal. So let's see the next thing you are going to do from here. So if uh, so you've opened the terminal, then now what you have to do is that make sure you are in your project. It's very important that you are in your project directory. So for example, if you look at this now, it corresponds to what I have here. Can you see? So it must, if not, what you are about to do is not going to work. So there's a way you can do it. You can use pwd. Let's try to do it. Pwd. So when we have it, we have pwd. So you can see this is the path to my project, and you can see. So you have to have it if you created your folder successfully. So if you are not in your directory, you have to change directory. You can press cd dash desktop, then to my project on your Mac or Linux. But if it is a window, you have to do cd then users, then your name, the name of your computer. For my own now, you can see my own is Michael. So you are going to have your own name there. So then it will move you there. So alternatively, you can just drag the folder just like I mentioned and put it on the on the window, and it's going to on the VS Code window, and it will open to it automatically. So now let's try to create our first JavaScript file. So we come here, new file. What are we going to name this file? So let's call it index.js. So that's our first JavaScript file. Make sure it is inside my project, and so when you do that, you have to add code console.log. Console.log is used to print message to the terminal. I've been using it since. So console.log. So that way console.log, this is a string. So hello comma word. So that's our first JavaScript file. So if you have done that, let's put the this. Okay, so we have typed our first hello word. Now it is time to run it. So to run this particular JavaScript code, just like I've said, you see why it is very important to make sure you are in your project. So just press node. This is when node has been successfully installed. If node is not installed in your system, it will not work. You can see hello world. So That's our first JavaScript program. Okay, so uh, now that we have seen that, so let's see how we can incorporate Git, since we have successfully installed Git also. So let's try to initialize Git. So right now, Git, because we installed Git, does not mean that Git is already helping us to track our file. So we have to call Git to start doing it for us. So how can we do that? We have to run Git init. It is very, very important that we are in this folder because we are trying to track this folder. So Git init, you can see Git has initialized empty Git repository. You can see in our project. So there's an hidden project file, a folder in our computer here in this project that we don't see. So it's not supposed to be displayed in ours, but a new file has been created here silently that Git is going to be using to, you can see immediately we have some U untracked on, you can see. So we have not started, although we have initialized a Git, but we've not started tracking it. So how can we track it? So number one, we have to rename the branch to main. The current branch is a master branch, so we have to rename it to what? To main. So it's just one of the things we are going to do. So git branch dot m main. I want to rename the branch to main, and doing that I have this. So successfully, if you just type it, is okay. So you have created hidden Git folder, and your project is now a Git repository ready to track changes. So now, just like what we have seen here, although we have invited Git in our project, but we've not started tracking it. So before, if you want to, whenever you make a changes, there are two commands you have to run, and this one, git add, which file do you want to include? Git commit, that is, you want to take the screenshot, you want to save that particular changes you have made so that Git can keep a copy of it. So you use, normally when you want to track a file, you use git add the name of the file. In this case, you say git add, then since we are working with index.js now, because it's possible to have many files inside here, but now it is, whenever we always want to, you can just use dot so that all the files we have in this my project folder can be tracked at the same time. It does not really matter you are adding everything, but there are some cases that you don't want to add everything. Maybe you just want to add a particular file, but in this case, since you only have index.js alone there, so you can track it alone. So then after that, you use this git commit dash m, then this is your message. You can see message is just like what maybe some words you want to use to remember what. Okay, so you can put anything, just, but make sure git commit dash m, so you can say in quotation initial commit, what was it? So hello world project, hello world project, hello world project. Okay, so your commit message is just some text you use to remember when you we are still going to talk about it very well. So let me try to make this one capital letter. Does not really matter, but you have to work professionally. So hello world project, then enter. So you can see one file change, one insertion. You can see there is you have committed. So this is the commit uh, hash, and you have the comment. The comment is just a reminder of, maybe you set a reminder, you set a reminder, you have to put a note. So it's very good to put a very good note, so that when you are collaborating with other people, they will be able to see what changes you've made, and some maybe reason for the changes. Okay, maybe you added the login, login code or login functionality added. So what you have to do now is that you have to go to GitHub and create a GitHub account, a GitHub repository. So you can quickly pause and go there and create a new GitHub repo. So I will be doing it from my own computer to give you some illustration of how to do it. And from here, after the creation, you create, then after that you get a new repository. So let me do that now. So obviously you are going to need internet for this. So I've so this is my GitHub. So if you have created your GitHub, then you should be able to see something like this. So after that, you come to new. So from new, so the instruction is to put this name, which is hello.js. So hello.js, that is the repository name, hello.js. Okay, unfortunately this name has been taken before, so let me just for simplicity, let me just put dash dash. But in your own case, make sure you are putting hello dash if the name does not exist. Okay, so let me use this. So you can just leave any other thing. You can put some descriptions, then create your git repository. So when you have done this, then you have to connect this particular, because the one you have, which is my project here, is for your local machine. So you've created another battery is low. So you can create another repo in your GitHub. So you now have to connect the two together so that you can push changes from your local computer to your GitHub account. So the folder here is for your computer. The one you created on GitHub is another folder. Okay, so now you have to push this particular index.js into that one on GitHub. Okay, so now how do you do it? So you copy the repository URL. So then when you copy it, you just use this command. So it's going to give you the URL like this. So let's quickly do that. Now this is the URL. So you can even copy it from here like this. So it's the same thing with the command that we have here. We have done all this. So you have done all this one like this. These are the two things that are left to be done. So let's go back to our repo. You can just press Ctrl+Shift+V and paste it, then enter. So what you have done, if this is successful, you have successfully connected this particular repo to the one you have in GitHub. Okay, then the next thing is to push it. So we can also copy it from here. we have done this step before. You remember we've renamed the branch, so this is the next thing to do. So you just copy it, come back to your repo, make sure these are correct and you are still inside my project. Control Shift V. So let's see. So if everything goes well, then you can see, so successfully we have done this. So if you go to our GitHub now, you should be able to see this hello world there. So let's go back. So this is our repo. Now let's click on it, and so we have our index. You can see this is our commit message. You can see why commit message is very, very important. Then 5 minutes ago, that was when we did it. So you have to verify it. You can see I've tried it before. So click on it. So if you click on it, you should see your console. You can see console. In fact, you can even try to change it here, try to add some code to it and that. So some of your colleagues, they can come, you can share the URL with them, they can see your codes and that. So for example, now if I give you a work to do and ask you to push your code to the GitHub, so let's come back to the folder. So this is the folder. This is the folder. If you have some other files there apart from index.js, obviously they are going to line up here. We can also have some other folders inside the folder. For example, now we can also have some folders inside my project, maybe my project slash something something and so on. So you are going to see everything here, and you can just copy the URL here and you can send it to your friends. You can check your code. They can, if it is public, for now it is public, they can clone it. For example, they can clone it. You can see they can copy the code and clone it, and they can also work on it and contribute. So this is the workflow of every developer and every backend developers. Okay, so now you now know how to create a project locally, and you can use Git to track it, and you can push your code to GitHub for backup. So for backup, for collaborations and sharing. And this is the foundation of real world software development. So this is pretty straightforward. Just try to go through it and see. So the assignment that you can just lay your hands on is just create your own file, name it instead of index.js like this, name it in intro.js. Then you have to log your name, your age, your favorite programming language to the console, just like I've logged hello here. Log your name. Then after that, you initialize git init, all these git commands, and that git add, git commit. Make sure you put a correct commit message, and after that you push it to your new GitHub. Make sure you create a new GitHub if you don't have a GitHub account. It's pretty straightforward, and upload the a link that will be provided when you get this particular slide. You submit it to the link for the assignment, which should be provided, or is going to be added later on this link. So by the time you get this slide, you are going to have the link there. You can copy the Google Form link, just your name and your GitHub link, the link to that particular repository, so that we can check through it. Alright, so that will be all for today. So I promise to actually uh, go over how to install a Node.js. So Node.js is pretty simple to install. So just copy the URL here and put it on your browser. And just like I said, you have to download the long time support. So you can see this is the long time support. So make sure you are getting the long time support for stability. So it's very important. So download it, the long time support. So here you are going to get your system. Automatically is going to detect your computer, whether you are running Windows, and trust me, the installation is pretty straightforward. And just so while we wait for this, you can also go back to uh, Git. Also, those are the two installations that you have to do. So Git, can also get Git. Then if you don't have a VS Code, if you don't have a code editor installed, you can also download the code editor. And you can see, so select your operating system here. So automatically it's going to detect it for me. So I'm running on Linux, so it's asking me to download on Linux now. Okay, so it's going to automatically detect. Just install it, and it's pretty straightforward to install. So if you need VS Code, you can download VS Code for your particular operating system. And I recommend VS Code. It's pretty straightforward and easy to work with. So those are the tools that we have now. So you can download it. You can see it's going to automatically detect your operating system. Okay, so I don't know, just refresh, and I think this is a network issue. So you are going to obviously get your uh, your system operating system here, and you can just download it. Just like I said, it's pretty straightforward. I think they have some, they try to dictate my operating system. So make sure you are downloading the long time support. So there's each problem, network problem here. So that's just everything you need. You need to download a code editor if you don't have one. Then download Git. Then make sure you have Node.js. If you don't have Node.js, you'll not be able to run Node.js. So that's pretty everything we have. And make sure you complete the assignment, and you submit it to the link that will be provided. So thank you very much, and I will see you next week. Thank you.